Right, I think we're
after.
learn how to.
Oh,
This is going live right now. Thank you. So it's so nice to see all of you coming out on a Sunday afternoon. Why, when you could be, well, let's face it, not going to be cutting your grass when it's outside, right? So kind of a reprieve. I am so thankful for you. Prayed over many, many times. I am excited about this class, and I have felt almost a panicky type of feeling that I needed to present this in public just as soon as possible. I believe that Jesus, and with that could be a lot of destructive things happen on. And you may be the only person in your home, on your street, and in your community that will know how to help people in an emergency. Because when there's a local crisis, we can't always get to the hospital. You need to know how to do some of these life-saving, simple things in your own home. And so one of the things that I love, and I would agree, and I imagine that was Dr. Agatha Thrash that you were talking about earlier. I agree with her. She is, charcoal is my absolute all-time favorite poultice. I think it is the best gift from God is charcoal. And the great thing about it is, well, you can spend money on it, but it can be absolutely free if you make it in your own backyard. Now, the caveat to that is it won't be activated charcoal. Activation takes a much higher heat. But if you are utilizing one of my husband's campfires, you're probably achieving that high heat. As he made us charcoal yesterday evening for this class today. So I wanted to be able to show you some of that. But I imagine you guys are interested in learning about all of the different natural remedies. So there's a lot to cover, and we're just going to kind of go through them quickly. But before we do that, I just want to ask a blessing on today's program. Father in heaven, we come to you in Jesus' name, thanking you, Lord, for an opportunity to share about your natural remedies. Father, I pray that you would speak through me, teach, love through me, heal through me. Father, be with each person, each divine appointment that is sitting here in this class and listening online. We ask for these things in holy and precious name. So each of you should have a couple different handouts, okay? We're going to start with the Poultice class handout, okay? And we're going to go down through these, and we're going to go over each of the different functions that they have. So I can show you what they are. Did anybody here see the little blurb on Soda City Live? You saw it. Okay, so there's a handful of you. So I did demonstrate this on Soda City Live, but I want to show each of you. Now, the first poultice we're going to go over is the onion. This little thing right here has absolutely amazing benefits for opening the lungs. This is going to help a person breathe better. It does not matter whether you have a cold, a flu, COPD, emphysema, COVID, post-COVID breathing problems, whatever respiratory problem you have, this humble onion can be a real lifesaver in opening up your airways. So you want, the poultice I'm going to teach you right now, you need a rather large onion or use 2 medium ones if need be. Okay, so you're going to peel the onion and then cut it in half because we're going to be applying this poultice feet. Does that surprise you? Okay, so on the bottom of our feet are thousands of pores, and when we put the humble onion against the bottom of our feet, that onion can be smelled on your breath in 60 seconds. Okay, isn't that amazing? So when you are really having trouble, mucusy, whatever, of course with that, drink a couple glasses of water, take a pinch of salt on your tongue that can also open that up. All you need is a plastic bag from a grocery store or whatever you have handy. You can even use a couple trash bags if you don't have any garbage bags. You're going to take your onion and you're going to dice it up to where it's kind of a medium dice. I didn't want to take time in the class, so I've pre-diced half of an onion. And so what you're going to do is lay your bag out here, okay? And you're going to put your onion in here. Now, this, we're going to put your foot against. Who wants, honey, will you come up here and be our foot with your hand? But you have to hurry. So, you would do this on the side of your bed, okay? You don't want to be walking through your house on diced onion. I don't want anyone slipping and falling. So, be close to your bed, put this in, okay? You're going to put your foot on there, then you're going to pull the bag up around, and then you're going to get a nice big pair of socks, and this big, okay. And then you're going to pull that sock on over the person. And then once you've got the poultice in place, feel like you can breathe better? Not yet. We'll give it a minute. So once this is in place, let the person go to bed. If you're not ready for bed, maybe sit up on the couch, put your feet up. Just be very, very careful if you need to get up and walk around anywhere, okay? You can leave this on 6 to 8 hours while you sleep. Take it off. Do not reuse the onions. They are not good for the next day. So throw that out. Go through the process again. Do this as often as you need. Now, you can also take this onion and you can slice it thinly into rounds, and then you can break those rounds apart. Now, if Bill were laying down on a bed, I could take those onion rounds and just place them across his chest, and then I could take like a puppy pee-pee pad, and place it over the top so there's plastic backing, because you want the plastic to hold the moisture against in so it's not evaporating. And then I could take an ace bandage or a tight-fitting shirt and then put that to hold that in place. I find the rounds a little harder to use than just chopping an onion, putting it against a person's feet, and then going from there. Because we went on a mission trip once, and when we arrived, our sponsor was sick. We both ended up with laryngitis, but had to be the speakers for an event within, 2 days, I think we were both sick. And so if it had not been for the humble onion poultice, we would have really had a hard time even being able to talk or breathe that week. So the onion is amazing. Now, the other thing I want to teach you about onions is how to make a simple cough syrup at home. Have any of you ever made an onion cough syrup before? Linda has. All right. Does it work well? Yes, it does. So the onion, again, is going to open up the bronchioles and the lungs, and all you need is a glass jar. You decide how big of a jar you want to use based on how much cough syrup. But this is super simple. When you take your onion, you just want to dice it. For me, I like to dice it really small, okay? And then you're just going to take, and we're going to layer about a 1/2 inch of onion in the bottom of our jar. And then you want some raw, unfiltered honey. We're going to put about a teaspoon, maybe a couple teaspoons. And then we're going to add another layer of onion. If I can keep it all over. And do another layer of honey. We're going to add another layer of honey. And we're going to let this cough syrup sit while we have our class here today. By the time even 20 to 30 minutes pass, what's going to happen is that you're going to see that a liquid begins to form down inside. So once you're done, once you have your liquid formed, you're going to strain off the onions. This is going to make a very watery juice. Right now it's kind of thick, but I'll show you as we get closer to the end of the class what it looks like. And so then you strain off those onions. By the way, those onions taste really sweet. If you want to saute them in something, you can. But the part you're after is the liquid. So I strain off the onions, set them aside or throw them out, and then the liquid that remains is your cough syrup. And so adults can take a couple teaspoons every 2 to 3 hours, however often you need it. A child can take a 1/2 teaspoon hours, depending on their size and their age. So this is the simple onion cough syrup. Works wonderfully. And again, raw, organic, unfiltered honey you can find at our farmers market by the quart, or I just grabbed this at Costco. And you want to stay away from like the little honey bear that's just honey you can get, because unfortunately there is a big scam going on right now with honey and olive oil. It's a big black market business, and so there's a lot of things that are marked honey that aren't actually. You want to make sure you've got a good quality source. Okay, so we'll set this aside. We'll let our honey poultice or honey onion cough syrup form. So okay, so now we're going to do our next poultice. How many of you love cayenne pepper? you have someone who is in the beginning stages of a heart attack, you can mix a teaspoon of cayenne pepper into a glass of water as long as they're conscious, and you can get them to drink that and actually stop a heart attack. And so I have used this on one person, and so I was unable to bring them back. But there are many people who have done that and applied it in there. So even though cayenne is very hot, cayenne will never, ever burn you. It will not blister your skin. And even though you feel the heat of it going down, it is not something that will cause an ulcer. As a matter of fact, cayenne pepper heals stomach ulcers. The bottle that I brought with me today, I actually grabbed this out of my car. I carry this and gloves in my glove box everywhere I go because I've come across auto accidents before, and I didn't have cayenne. If you have cayenne and someone has an open wound and just putting pressure on it is not stopping the bleeding and people are not there yet, you can dump cayenne pepper and stop the bleeding, and it will not hurt them. So it might feel a little warm. Lynn is saying she does not want me to put this into her open wound. But cayenne is amazing in all of these principles at work. So one of the things that it does is there anyone here that will admit to having cold feet when they sleep or cold feet during the day? Okay, cayenne pepper would be your friend. Anyone with diabetic neuropathy, where you either can't feel your feet or maybe you just have pins and needles and tingling or pain. So what I wanted to show you was one of the uses of how you could help someone who has diabetic neuropathy or cold feet. And I'm going to tell you, this really, really warms up your feet very quickly. So all you need is a couple paper towels, okay? I like the ones that split because they're kind of foot size. I mean, not my husband's foot size, but they're definitely. Okay, so there are people that do this and use oil, but I do not like using oil to make my cayenne pepper stick to my paper towel. And the reason is that when you go to take that poultice off in the morning, those feet are super slippery if there's been oil on here. So I use water in a spray bottle. So all you need are your paper towels, okay? We're going to spritz this with water, okay, just enough to make the cayenne stick. And then I'm going to sprinkle this. You want it liberally covered, okay? The whole width of the foot and length of the foot. Now you're going to have the person put their foot on top of this. But first, I pull out, honey, will you be our foot again? I kind of want to show how to do this. It's water. Yes, this is water.
It looks blue.
Okay, so you want to put down a piece of plastic, and then you're going to put your cayenne pepper right in the center, your poultice, okay? So you've got this here. Now you place a person's foot, again we're going to use my husband's hand instead of his foot, right on top. Then take your plastic wrap and pull this up, okay? Because you want to seal in the moisture. And then once again, you're going to pull on a sock. And I'm not sure. So now, when you go to bed, not only are you going to have the heat of the sock, but within about 20 minutes, maybe less, you begin to feel the circulation increase and you begin to feel the heat from the cayenne. But just remember, it will not burn you, okay? So you can add cayenne to your food. You can add cayenne to things that you use. You can there was a time where we were just getting up in the morning and putting 1/8 of a teaspoon, then 1/4 of a teaspoon. We got up to 1/2 of a teaspoon of cayenne in water. And so here's the thing about drinking cayenne in water. It sounds scary, but when you start to drink it, so much of the cayenne is going with the water down your throat and into your stomach. you're not tasting every bit of the cayenne that's in that water. You feel the heat on the back of your tongue, you feel the warmth, but honestly, it's just a great way to improve circulation. So if you're someone who has poor circulation, adding 1/8 of a teaspoon or 1/4 of a teaspoon to a glass of water in the morning can be a very good thing. Thank you for being a very good poultice person. Are there any questions about cayenne pepper? Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, maybe use a little bit less. She says she couldn't stand to drink it because of the burning sensation. Is that right? Always, always, always start your day with 2 glasses of water. Okay? Do not get up and drink a cup of coffee or tea or orange juice or anything like that first. Why? Because we need to get our organs prepared for the day. And so you want to be drinking water to hydrate and get everything going. So if you add something that is like cayenne right off the bat, it might feel a little hard on your system if you are hydrated. So 2 glasses when you first get up before you have your food. Then maybe a bottle about this size or a glass about this size before lunch, 15 to 30 minutes before lunch, 1 before dinner, maybe 1 in the evening. You're going to have all the water you need for the day if you do that. And if you start your day with water, you will crave water during the day. Flips a little switch in the hypothalamus. If you start your day with a cup of coffee, number 1, they've now shown in studies that you need to drink 5 additional cups of water, glasses of water, have a single cup of coffee. So it dehydrates you that much. Herbal tea, rooibos tea will not have that same hydrating effect. So, and no Coke, no Sprite. And if you're a person that has a lot of allergies, don't start your day with orange juice. Creates a lot of histamine in the body, and that can cause a lot of allergy issues. Okay? All right. Our next poultice, what do we have on the menu next? Is it the ginger poultice is next. All right, this is one of my absolute favorite natural remedies. It has some of the most effective, fast working, pain relieving issues. Heard, know what I'm trying to say? Effects on the body, okay? So get yourself some fresh ginger root like this. Get several pieces of it. Then grab a gallon-sized Ziploc baggie, throw it in your freezer. Then when you need ginger, you just simply go to your freezer, pull it out, and you're going to grate it, okay? Ginger is amazing in that it relieves all kinds of joint pain. And so we had a family situation earlier this month where my husband's aunt walked into a doctor's office with her arm like this. She's in her late 80s. And she insisted that her wrist was broken. And so they took her back, they did the x-rays, they did the workup. Guess what she had? Gout. She had serious, severe gout in her wrist. Now, this affects a lot of men in their feet, but for her, she had gout so bad she was sure her wrist was broken. And so what they did was they put her on a steroid pack for 5 days. So when we got home from vacation and I found out about this, I asked my husband if he had shared this poultice with her, and he had not. So I called her, left a message, and a couple days later she called me. She was just finishing the steroid pack. She said her wrist was really very little better than it was at the beginning. I said, well, I think I can tell you a way to get rid of joint pain overnight. It's like, okay, I'm all ears. I said, you're going to need to go to the grocery store and buy yourself some fresh ginger, and then we're going to make a poultice for you out of paper towel or out of cloth. You can use puppy pee-pee pads. There's a lot of different things that you can use for bringing the poultice to you. I kind of like using ginger, and I'm wondering if there's anyone here today that has either a sore thumb or a sore wrist? One? Pardon? Carpal tunnel is probably a little bit more. You've got. Oh, okay. All right. I'm gonna have you stand right over here for me then. All right. We're going to apply, and it's how much. What's your pain level? A 4 or 5. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to grate some fresh ginger, and you do not need to peel it unless you see a bad spot. Okay. So when you grate the ginger, it becomes very moist, and you want to spread it about 1/4 of an inch thick and be about the consistency of peanut. Now, here's the thing about ginger. You okay with some heat? Okay. Once we put this on, and we're going to fold it burrito style, all of our ginger. It's going to make the poultice wet, okay? Want it about 1/4 of an inch. So we're just going to fold this burrito style, and then we're going to put part that's just one thickness paper towel against the skin, and you want it to be wet. You can see the wetness here, okay? All right, hold on for me. Now, we need to cover this with some plastic wrap, right? So, want to keep all the moisture inside. You can leave this on for 6 to 8 hours. You can a new. Now, I'm just going on here. You guys can use different things. You can put an AC on. Lightly, you don't want to cut off any circulation. But here's what's going to happen. And she can testify to this in about 15 to 20 minutes. This is going to heat up. It's going to feel very hot. And that heat is the body pulling inflammation out of the joint, okay? And then the body comes and it rinses that away, and that cools. It's going to go through cycle after cycle after cycle. Heat, cool. If you can bear the heat, and I don't think it gets that hot, but some people are more sensitive than others. But if you can bear the heat, and when you get home, as a matter of fact, you may want to take a sock or something else just to keep that. This will long time with the pen. And I'm old enough, trust me. Okay, so you can just leave one for warmth. You could wrap a sock or an, and you can repeat that if you still have joint pain. All right, thank you so much. So, yes. I checked with my aunt a couple days later to see how the whole wrist and ginger poultice thing went, and I didn't hear back from her, and I'm like, oh no, she's had some kind of bad experience. And finally, I get this text back from her, and she says, Barbara, that was amazing. She says, all the pain was gone overnight, and now I have a friend who's in her 90s who has arthritis, and I'm telling her how to use the poultice. So I think that's amazing. So you can use ginger I've known people who've had gout in a single pinky. You can make your poultice teeny tiny. You can make it big depending on the joint. You can alternate it with different things that we're using today. Our next demo is going to be the potato poultice. And so that's going to take inflammation from, let's say, someone ran into you or you tripped and you've got a big bruise on the side of your calf or on your arm, and you're kind of more bruised and inflamed. But sometimes it happens at a joint too. You can use ginger one day and you can do the potato the next day, and you can just alternate. And you're going to make the potato poultice exactly the same way that you saw the ginger. But I do want to say another thing about gout while we're chatting. When you have, because one of the things I do in my office is called live blood cell testing. We take a drop of blood from your fingertip, and we can see together on a 32-inch television 20 different things that can be going on in your blood. One of the things that I see a lot is all of this excess protein. It looks like broken green glass in your bloodstream, okay? And so when you have this broken glass, and this is forming against the nerve endings in your feet, and you have people who are trying to walk on it, it's why it's excruciating pain. The same uric acid, when it lodges in muscles, we call that fibromyalgia pain. But it is exactly the same thing. It is uric acid that is undigested, and it is pressing in that place, causing you pain. Now, when that lodges in our joints, we call that arthritis. It is all uric acid, which is undigested protein. So there are some simple things. This is a way to put a poultice on to give you instant relief. But you can take a digestive enzyme with your meals. Every time you put food, that helps your pancreas break things. You can decrease the amount of protein. I mean, I've seen people who are just on these protein crazes where they're doing protein powder, they're bodybuilding, they're all this, but their pancreas can't quite keep up with and put out the protease that it needs. And so what happens is you end up with bumps in the armpit, you end up feeling extremely tired. The blood cells will be in long chains called rouleau. And when your blood is stuck together because you have this excess protein, then you feel extremely fatigued. So a digestive enzyme, drinking the right amount of water, lowering the protein or plant-based food really help to bring relief if you're suffering with gout, arthritis, and fibromyalgia. Okay? So that's just that's our simple ginger poultice. The potato, same exact thing. You just want a plain old white potato. Okay? You do not need to peel it. You're just going to grate your potato again. Now, I did make the mistake once of putting this on my sister's ankle, and I forgot to put it inside of the lining of the puppy pee pad. So we've all seen puppy pee pads and continence pads. These things are great to have in your poultice container at home, okay? And so, So you're going to figure out the size. Let's say you have an injury on the back of your calf, and figure out how big you want that, your poultice. And I know I have so let's just say they're always great scissors to have in your poultice kit too. So there's a lining on these. The incontinence pads, honestly, are easier to pull the lining back on than the puppy pee pads, but you just want to pull it apart, so you've got a little pouch. And the nice thing about this is it's already got your plastic backing, right? Because we always want to hold the moisture in. So you're just going to take your potato or whatever you decide, put in your poultice. You're going to put that in the pouch. And again, you're going to see the moisture coming through, right? So this is a great way to bring down that inflammation. In front of me. Now you're just going to seal your side. So you don't want the potato falling out all over the person's ankle. Driving what happened to me. Got a little bit ahead of myself. So we're going to put this poultice, which you can kind of see how nice and moist this is now, right? against. Did anyone punch you today? I didn't. So, and again, you're going to wrap this with an ACE bandage. You could use a sock and a couple safety pins, something like that. That will really make a big difference in bringing down inflammation there. If anybody has an injury or a wound today that would fit this poultice, you are welcome to have it. So, is that something that surprised you? Is that information that's new? Yes. Hold on just 1 minute. My husband's going to grab a... she said she had a question. Did you have a question, or did you want the poultice? Oh, you want that. Okay, you can have that. Yes. Okay. Oh, one of the things that I put on your handout, just to back up to the cayenne, is I did give you a recipe right from that Garden of Eden book on how to make a cayenne liniment. I'm sorry I forgot to put page numbers on this particular handout, but just go right back to the cayenne at the end. And it was very, very simple. You just boil 2 cups of apple cider vinegar with 1 tablespoon of cayenne pepper for 10 minutes. And then you do not strain the mixture, unstrained mixture, and just put it into a bottle while it's hot. And this makes a very powerful liniment. You can rub that on sore muscles, sprained ankles, things like that. And that recipe is from back to... So... I want to know if that ginger poultice is starting to get warm. No? Not yet. You feel it? Yeah, okay, feel something going on. All right, cool. We'll check back in with you. Okay, so the next thing on our list are castor oil packs. Now, I have been had a heavy heart about this since, well, for 2 days now. So, have you guys ever gone on YouTube, looked up castor oil packs or benefits of castor oil? Have you happened to notice how many thousands of views that they get? I mean, 40,000, 1,000. There are a lot of people using castor oil, okay? And because of that, the FDA has greatly clamped down on what people say. So I want you to listen very, very carefully, not only to what I say, but what I'm not saying. Right? And I want you to listen to even my sarcasm. Okay? So first, I'm going to tell you how to make a castor oil pack. Then I'm going to tell you what I can say. Then I'm going to tell you what I can't say, okay? So castor oil is amazing. And I can tell you that it has absolutely wonderful beauty benefits. You can put this on your eyebrows. You can rub it on your eyelids to help your eyelashes grow. You can take a mixture with a little bit of conditioner and 50-50 conditioner and castor oil, and you can rub this into your scalp, put on a shower cap, and sleep with that overnight. That will stimulate hair growth. It stimulates the prostaglandins in the skin, and it will make hair grow. So we've not used this on Bill, who could use a little more hair up top now. So Herman too, Doug. So I've not tried this on anybody I know as far as like male pattern baldness, okay? But I do think that there's probably some good potential there for growing hair on a head that is starting to lose a lot of hair, okay? But there are things that you can purchase online, all right? I just want to show you some examples. This is a castor oil pack that's large that has a side that is not going to allow the oil to seep. Okay, it's like that plastic side. It has a really nice organic cotton on the side. Castor oil, then it absorbs very, very slowly into whatever you put in. It's very thick like honey. You can get it in a dark bottle. You want to look for things that are organic, cold pressed, and hexane free. Those are the main things. It's more expensive to get it in a glass bottle, but if all you can afford is the plastic bottle that's dark, get it. Okay? There's also a little one. I like this one. It's a Jamaican black castor oil. It's thinner. And so it's easy to just, I don't bother with those mascara things, but I'll just put a drop on my hand and then just rub it on eyelids and stuff like that. And so yesterday, because I was thinking about doing the class, and actually it was Friday morning, not yesterday morning, and Lynn, who introduced me, sent me a text message, but I was outside doing my sunlight therapy, and these are trifocals, okay? So I was doing my sunlight therapy, but the night before, I'm like, okay, let me put some of this castor oil on my eyelids and just see if it helps with the crow's feet and stuff like that. So I put it on, slept with it like that. I'm outside now. I'm doing my sunlight therapy because for the first 2 hours of the day, you get strong UVA light. And so while I don't look at the sun, I look below the sun, and I let that enter my eyes to make hormones and give me energy for the day. So that's sunlight therapy. But Lynn sends me a text message. So I'm standing there in my house coat. I pull out my phone, and usually I can barely see who it's from without putting my glasses on. So I look at it, and I'm like, Lynn Sherman, can you do such, I can't even remember what the message was that she sent me, but I was like, that message. And so I'm like, was that the castor oil? Is this my imagination? Like, what's going on? So I have no idea, but I'm going to tell you I will continue to put castor oil now on my eyelids above and below. And if you look at any doctor's prescription of like dry eye, there's always 2% castor oil in any of the drops. And they do that because they know that it adds that moisture barrier and really helps with dry eye. But I will tell you, you should never put castor oil by itself into your eye, even though there are people that will tell you you should do it. There are studies that show that it breaks down the conjunctiva, which is the white part of your eye. So you want to, but it has great benefits over the eyelid, under, and eyebrows, eyelashes if you want to grow them longer. So there are packs that are all different types. This one goes around your thyroid. Okay? You just want to put in a little bit of castor oil in the center. You want to wait for it to absorb, put it on before you go to bed. This one's smaller. This is nice for if you have an arm or a knee or a thigh or a calf, and it just has Velcro strings. I love that. There are bigger ones for your belly, and there's even a zipper. Sorry, my castor oil leaked bag, so now I've got a little on the outside. There's a pack here. You could put a cold pack or a hot pack that you warm up in here if you want extra warmth while your castor oil is on. So this will be a great one for putting over the liver or over the uterus, even though I can't tell you that it would break down uterine fibroids because I'm not allowed to tell you that it can break down uterine fibroids. I'm going to tell you there are lots of poultices or packs. So the difference between a poultice, which we've been showing, and pack is that a poultice job is to draw out, okay? A pack, when we put on castor oil, I'm not going to use this big one, but I want to, oh, there are also ones for other areas. Could go over your shoulder or other tucked into your bra. But let's just make one. I want to show you. If you don't want to, go to the expense of buying these. These are not terribly expensive, but I'm going to tell you what I don't like. I don't like that when the castor oil gets to the edge, this part, this ribbing around it, is not the same waterproof material as out here. So once the castor oil hits it, it leaks around. It will get on your sheet. It will get on your pajamas, whatever. So that's what I don't like about this, but I do like the price point. You get a lot more sizes, and so it's worth kind of having them. I love having the thyroid one. This one is more expensive, okay? But this was from Queen of the Throne. I love, though, that she uses a component completely moisture barrier around the. This one does not wick out onto. So, and then, so you use a pack, maybe 10 times, 15 times, and throw it in the washing machine. Put your all on there, throw it in your washing machine. But you can actually make your own. And so let's do, you want to hold as much moisture as possible with your pack, okay? So we're going to pretend like we're going to make one for your liver or your. Now, because we want castor oil to continue to flow in through the skin, because the more material you have to hold your castor oil, the longer the castor oil will go into the skin. Every day, when you're done, you're going to fold it up, put it down. When you're ready to put it back on, you're going to open it up. You're going to put more castor oil on there, so there's more to keep absorbing into your skin. So we're going to pull back on this little barrier. Okay. We're going to make it thicker. I just buy these packs of super thin washcloths because they've got all kinds of uses, but they're really great for poultices like this. So put that inside, make our little envelope. Now we have a thicker center for our castor. When I'm done with it, probably not going to want to save that. I'm probably just going to throw it away because it was not an expensive. Seal this. Show you how. Still leaking. Now, it has its plastic backing on this side, right? So we don't have to worry about that. But there are no straps that you can tie around your waist. So you're going to want to either use an ace bandage or rig up something a little tighter that you. So we're going to put on some castor oil, but I want to show you how thick this is, because it's like the consistency of honey. You're going to put some in the middle. Now it's going to take about 10 to 15 minutes to absorb. If I hold this up too much, it's going to run off. So we're going to just let this soak in here while we talk about what we're not allowed to say. All right. The first way that I knew about this was when my best friend had a bone spur. Castor oil on the back of her heel, and she put this on at a doctor's every day. So castor oil works very slowly. If you've had a problem for 3 weeks, it might take 3 days to get rid of it. If you've had a problem for 3 months, it might take so on and so forth. So if this is something you've had a very long time, if you're looking at fibroids or things like that that may be in there a while, you may be looking at doing castor oil packs for months or so. But castor oil can indeed break up bony deposits. And this is where I believe there's proof of God, because castor oil knows the difference between bone that should be there and bone that shouldn't be. So when you have a bone spur, your body is very acidic, okay? And what happens is one of the purposes of your bones is to make sure that that very, very delicate balance of the pH in your blood does not get too high or too low. So let's say you go out and let's just pick on one of these big stores. Let's say you go to Costco and you decide to get a hot dog, a piece of pizza, and a great big soda. Okay, so now you've had the acid from the very acidic soda, you've had the meat, you've had wheat, which is grade 5 times. You've had all these things that are now bombarding your body. They're very acid forming. So as you eat these foods that are acidic, if you do not have enough things, let's say you didn't have the salad, you didn't make a green smoothie for breakfast, you didn't have a vegetable juice or a mommy boost or something like that, what happens is that the body becomes acidic, and so it has to neutralize those acids. One of the ways that it does it is that it will pull calcium from your bones. So it does this through the heel, because the heel is a very, very large bone. And so as it's doing it, if you see it on x-ray, if you see your bone spur, it looks wispy because the body is calcium out. But it hurts really bad. Why? Because now you have these little shards sticking out. And so as you do more green smoothies, fresh vegetables, a more alkaline-based diet, those things will help to take the stress off of the bone spur that you have. But some people have actually compressed discs or bone fragments. You can take a washcloth. I don't my damp one. But let's say you take a cloth or a strip of your puppy pee-pee pad there, and you're going to add your castor oil to this. I'd probably, for the weight of it, if it's going to be divot along your spine or up in your neck, probably use paper towel, just so lightweight, even though it can't hold as much, and make a long one, just like we did for her wrist. And so you put that on, and then there is this product called Press and Seal. I had no idea how useful Press and Seal was for poultices until somebody who was doing this. Press and Seal is great because it's sticky on one side. So if you want to do, say, a cayenne poultice on your thyroid, which will help to bring circulation. So just like I showed you for the feet, you can make a little tiny square, dampen it, sprinkle it with a really liberal dose of cayenne pepper, put it up against your throat. You want to cut this like 3 inches bigger than you need, and then you're just going to stick it on your skin, and it actually sticks quite well without having to wrap something around your neck. Now, I only do this when I'm going to be at home because I can't go to the office looking like this, right, Beth? You would probably think something was wrong with me. But this also works on places that are really hard to tape or secure. So if somebody's back, you can just put it against there and it will stick. It is, I've stuck it to my, it's not as sticky. But this stuff is really quite amazing. So please consider, be aware that this can kind of help you with the things like if you want to apply something that's not a castor oil. That with it. So this is absolutely. So a lot of people who have had constipation, if you apply that big one over the belly, it just relieves constipation. And I'm not anyone who was made to drink castor oil as a child. There may be someone here who was forced to take it. How did they give it to you? Did you just have to take it on a spoon? Really? Just a spoon? And how much did you have to take? A teaspoon? 1 spoonful? And then, and so then you spent the rest of the day in the bathroom, right? And so I don't ever recommend using castor oil in that way. And pregnant women have been advised not to use castor oil. But I will tell you, it's not going to be long before the FDA takes down every single video. So if you want extra information, there are definitely some things that are very true in this world. One is, you don't know what you don't know. And the other thing is that the more you learn, or the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. Because as you learn, you just realize there's this vast world of knowledge out there. And so it's always intimidating to teach a class because I never feel like I know everything I need to know. I do want to share with you the things that I have learned, things that are simple, things that are inexpensive, because I don't want you to have to spend a lot of money, okay? So castor oil is your friend. I'm very sorry it's being picked on by the government. Let me see if I covered the fibroids, stones. Oh, gallstones, kidney stones, swollen joints. It's a natural pain. Acne, eczema, hair growth, much, much more. And if you look online, you will see that there are many, many uses for it that I've not even mentioned. question.
Do you recommend?
All of the poultices, or are you talking specifically about castor oil? Yes. I consider myself the water queen. Like, I just was probably the first person that ever brought a water bottle into church. I just believe in staying hydrated, and every single one of my clients that comes in my office gets encouraged to drink 2 glasses in the morning, a bottle before lunch, a bottle before dinner, because you guys, so many of the problems that are out there today are dehydration. So pain unrelated to traumatic injury. Think of all the pain that you got. It just some ache, and it was not from an injury. You drink a couple glasses of water, a lot of times that issue just resolves itself. And there may be other simple things. That's why, like, the joint poultices are nice and all that, but if you're dehydrated, that's your problem, and you need to drink water. And so people will get a headache when they're dehydrated. You'll have acid reflux. You'll have pain unrelated to traumatic injury. Those are the biggest clues I know someone's dehydrated when they walk into my office. So we want you to be very well hydrated. Okay, now you can see it's been about 5 minutes. This is now soaked into the poultice. Now, you can make this area larger, but it just depends on what you're doing. If you have kidney stones, again, this is the long method, but you would place them on each side on your back. Gallbladder is here, liver is here, and of course your abdomen you're going to cover. But it's funny to me to listen to people who have started using castor oil who didn't realize all the benefits. They're like, wow, I really started going to the bathroom so regularly, and I just don't know if that's part of castor oil. Yes, it is. If you're putting it on your abdomen, you're putting it everywhere. It absolutely is. Okay, can you guys see that we're starting to get a syrup forming in here now? We have some liquid in the jar. I don't know if you can. It's going to be even more by the time we're done.
Just another point about the hydration. I think that it's important to differentiate between someone who's drinking water and someone who's drinking things other than water throughout. So if you're drinking sodas, coffees, a variety of different things, it's going to be way more important to hydrate more for all of these to be. So the more drinking of things other than water, or water you're going to have.
Thank you. You know what? Let's do the flu balm before we do charcoal. This is a recipe and I've been a student of Barbara O'Neill's for years, and so a lot of these you will have seen these poultices online. I encourage everyone to find her on YouTube, listen to every lecture you possibly can. But she has a recipe for something called a flu balm, and I just wanted to share that with you. So you need, this is going to, I'm telling you, when COVID hit our house, and I had 3 men on our property, all in different homes, that all had COVID at the same time, I was literally making the rounds, personally, my favorite is just a veggie cap filled with Thieves Factor oil by Young Living. There is one called On Guard by doTERRA that's similar. You can find other Thieves oil. For me, it's a simple way to do essentially what we've got here, but just it's faster. And I forgot to bring that oil with me today. That is one of my all-time favorites. Take a veggie cap, fill it up. You can buy the empty capsules on Amazon or wherever. Just fill it up, put the top on, down the hatch, but don't go to bed right away because it'll kind of burn for a little while. Just sip some water if you need to. Okay, flu balm is going to knock out anything. You can take and drink this every 3 to 4 hours. I'm going to start with a half a cup of water. I'm going to put in a teaspoon of honey because somebody here, some victim here. I have a victim that wants to then I'll make my husband. Poor Bill. He's had lots of these. Okay, so we're putting the juice. I have a couple volunteers. You do not have to drink. So we're putting the juice of a lemon. I do not pick ginormous cloves of garlic, but garlic does not have to be peeled if you have a garlic press. Okay, you just take your garlic. Press it right. So now we're going to do one single drop of eucalyptus oil. Going to, what else is on it? We need cayenne and we need ginger, right? How much ginger do we need? The recipe. Quarter teaspoon. That probably wouldn't taste good. All the rest of this will taste delicious. Okay, quarter teaspoon. That's going to be a quarter. And then our last but not least is, how much does it call for? 1/8 teaspoon or a sprinkle. You want 1/8 of a teaspoon or a sprinkle? All right. Giving you the whole Monty. Going to, now we put the honey in the bottom. Got a spoon. It's powerful. It knocks out anything. Bacteria, fungus, virus. This kills it all. All right. Ready for you. Ready for whomever wants to come up and drink it. If you can grab me one more cup or glass from the back. Get a cup and somebody else is going to drink half and you can have half. How's that sound? Yes. Yes. Well, it's actually a Pampered Chef garlic press I bought years ago, but when you pull back on any garlic press, the peel is inside and the garlic just presses through it. So pushed harder? I don't know. I don't know what your garlic press looks like, but yeah, I've done that for years. But I pretty much have only ever had Pampered Chef garlic presses, so I'm not really sure if other ones work differently. Experiment when you go home. Okay. All right, lady. She wants to know if she has to drink all of it. Who wants the one with less? You do. All right, it's going to be strong. Not bad? Good. Feel stuff dying? Not you. Can you taste? So the 1/8 teaspoon was not that hot. That's what they say. It's good? Good. Thank you for that testimony. Honestly, once the cayenne, it doesn't matter if it's 1/8, 1/4, or half. Once you're swallowing the cayenne, it's just going down the hatch, Lynn. Thank you so much. She says it's really, really good. It's true. When I made it for Bill, there was half a teaspoon for sure. Okay, I'm going to save these. I think that's better for. All right, this is nice and messy. Okay, now we're going to do charcoal. All right, are you guys ready for some exciting stuff? Are there any questions up to this point? Okay, good.
I have understood how to wash.
Okay,
It
so
didn't come with instructions.
right. So, and I had that similar sort of like, what do I do? I took my all clear because there's so much oil in it, and castor oil has that sticky feeling. And I just poured probably a couple tablespoons because I had the bigger one. And I just really smushed it around and just threw it in the washing machine on a warm cycle that was at least like 50 long. 10 times before you even need to wash it.
Hey,
Yeah.
Miss
See,
Barbara,
the pack is not pulling stuff out, it's putting it in. So you can just keep folding it in half and reusing it until you just want a new one. Yes, ma'am.
use the oregano oil too, right? Oregano oil instead of the eucalyptus.
What about the eucalyptus?
Use any oil, right? Instead of the.
Eucalyptus oil or tea tree oil, one single drop, and always look for therapeutic grade 100% oil. And so it opens up the breathing, and it just helps. One single drop is not going to hurt anybody. That's what Barbara O'Neill always said. So, we doing good on time? All right, we are.
I have a
So-
question.
Yes,
Can you freeze these poultices?
do I freeze
Can you
them?
freeze them? In other words, make up several and put them in the freezer?
I've not tried to. I have refrigerated charcoal poultices. I'm going to show you. I've not. The only. I just know that I would freeze them. I haven't tried that, Lynn, honestly. But maybe freezing the ginger, having it ready, as long as you're going to seal it in a container, a plastic bag, or something really good, and then open it up. But see, then your issue is the person doesn't need something freezing cold against them. Are you going to microwave it? And if you microwave it, are you then destroying the properties of what's there? So if you can, I would just make them up as you go. Okay, that would be my advice. Now, I'm not saying you couldn't do that. It's just not something I have done with any of them. I keep the ginger in the freezer, and I try to always have onions on hand. And then I have a husband that can, go build a fire and make me some charcoal. So, yeah. He is a sweetheart, and he loves building fires, so that just was not a problem. Okay, let's switch to the other handout. And let's talk about charcoal. Charcoal comes in different forms. You can get it in the powder. We live in America, in a country where you can just buy this. You don't have to make it, and it's activated. When it's activated, it is much more powerful. But when my first introduction to it was when I was dying from Crohn's disease, I was in my late 20s. I had almost died twice by 29. And I got this little booklet called 2 Months to Live. It was about a doctor in Orlando, and at that point I lived in Indiana, who was using this weird thing called God's Natural Laws of Health and Healing. And he had cancer patients that were coming to him, and they were going through his program of juicing and different things like that, and they were being healed. And it was a story about a man who had cancer, and the book was actually written under an assumed name, because in the 80s, if a doctor recommended that you drink fresh vegetable juice, or if you do all the things that today we just consider normal, good health advice, sit in the sunshine for 30 minutes, exercise, breathe fresh air. He did charcoal poultices, and he did a lot of fresh vegetables, and he ate a vegan vegetarian. And so he was an amazing doctor. And when I went down there and juiced for a month, and it changed my life. I went from someone who was as white as this piece of paper to having color in my face. And God just I had been in nursing school with 10 months left to graduate, had to drop out, and I went from this direction to this direction. I had 2-hour lectures every single day, so we were learning about natural remedies. And it just was an amazing experience. It literally changed my life. And so from there, I have made a promise to God to spend the rest of my life helping others not get as sick as I once was. To that end, I've been faithful. And so it's why I'm doing this class today, and I'm happy to do it at your church or anywhere that I'm invited to educate. But charcoal is powerful, and Dr. M said that 1 tablespoon of activated charcoal powder could adsorb the amount of bacteria that covered an entire football field. And I'm like, okay, really? Wow. Okay, so if you look at your charcoal handout, you'll see a picture on the second page of the inside of charcoal. Okay, so we're all familiar with things that absorb. A sponge absorbs water or moisture, correct? But charcoal adsorbs with a D, adsorbs to itself. It does not get bigger, but it has all these thousands, millions of tiny crevices that are through it, so it pulls toxins and poisons and all kinds of icky stuff out of the body. So it's great for pulling infection out of a wound. It is wonderful for curing gangrene. It is great for if somebody has poisoned themselves or accidentally poisoned themselves. When our son was, I don't know, I think Nathan was 4 or 5, we went to a health food store somewhere, and it was one of those kind that had these like barrels laying on their side on a shelf, and it was all these different kinds of soap. Well, I'm checking out at the counter, and what does Nathan do? He bellies up to the bar and pushes one of those buttons and just, and when I turned around and saw that my son was drinking liquid soap, oh my goodness, I was so freaked out. But because I was at a health food store and I had already learned about the benefits and the poison properties of pulling poison out of the system with charcoal, they had charcoal on their shelf. And so I was able to get some capsules, and because he was 4, he couldn't swallow capsules, but I just opened them into a little bit of water and made him take a bubble bath, with the rest of that soap. He drank that down, and I did call poison control, but they're like, well, he's done charcoal, watch him, it's not a problem. And I never did have to take him in. And so the man who, I heard the story that the man who was really trying to prove the benefits of charcoal had an entire group of scientists in front of him. And what does he do? He had taken some charcoal, he drank it, or probably was powder form, drank it down, and then he took arsenic. That was his way of proving to the scientific community, please don't do that at home, but that was his way of proving to the scientific community that charcoal took poison out of the system. And you will know if you're old enough, and I don't know that they still do this in the emergency room. I think they do other things now, but you heard of people getting their stomachs pumped if they had taken poison in or different things that they should not have, and they would give you charcoal, and they would add herb. So the poison. I have also heard of people who've come across a little child who had taken some kind of poison, they didn't know what. The people had access to charcoal, and they broke it up, which we're into fine powder. They mixed it with water because that's all they had. They completely covered this child's abdomen, and within a couple hours, the child came back to consciousness. And so charcoal pulls through the skin. If you have an abscess, if you have a boil, if you have infection that's internal, when you put that poultice over your abdomen, depending on where the infection is, you're going to feel tugging and pulling, and you're going to feel bubbles because charcoal is so effective that it just opens a way to pull stuff out. When I went to Dr. M's clinic, one of the things that they talked about was this woman who had just been a patient. She had uterine cancer, didn't come back because someone had not explained properly what happens when you put a charcoal poultice on your body. She had a very serious uterine cancer. They put a charcoal poultice over her lower abdomen and sent her home. Well, during the night, her body began tugging and pulling and tugging and pulling. It kept her awake. When she got up in the morning and she took that poultice off, it was absolutely filled with pus. It was horrible. It smelled horrible. It was But it scared her so badly because she hadn't been educated as to what to expect back to the. And so that is why it's very important to understand if something has a detox symptom, if something has, something else, some other effect. You need to understand what it. So if you put this on your skin and you have a boil, it's going to pull the pus out, and it's going to be in the poultice, and it's going to smell bad, and you're going to see stuff on the poultice. You're going to throw that away, cover it up, put it in a bag, throw it away. You never reuse a poultice. You only reuse the. Okay? So when you take it internally, I'm going to show you a couple different ways we're going to do some simple stuff with charcoal. But this is what I do at home. This is called a charcoal slurry, and this is just a basic shaker bottle, and I've got it about half full with water. And so I will do this. I have very poor detox pathways. So for me, charcoal is a kind of a godsend because a lot of the people in the world can eat something and their body can process it out. For me, I'm not one of those people that can easily get rid of toxins. So charcoal is my friend. So before I start working with it, let me put some gloves on. And I want to tell you, when you're working with charcoal powder, you need to understand a few things. Number one, it's very, very fine. You never, ever want to put it on a spoon and think you're going to put it on your tongue because you have a mechanism in your brain that will make you go, take a breath right before you swallow that water. Then you will suck charcoal into your lungs and you will not be a happy camper. Okay, so mix it into water, never put it on your tongue. So, but charcoal stains, right? This is a fine bamboo charcoal. Now, you can take your protein shaker cup. It has one of those little swirly metal things in the bottom. Okay. You want to move very slowly with eye. How it's going. Matter of fact, just let me just put down a little protection. Because you never know when working with charcoal happen. It's better just to be safe than sorry. All right. I'm going to you can do one spoon or poultice. Sorry. You're off and hit your counter. If it hits your clothing, it stains. Okay. Put it back on. You always want to keep charcoal covered and closed because it's so powerful it will absorb the poisons that are in the air. It's why you can put it in a dish in your refrigerator to pull out smells and odors. But if you just leave it open like this, pretty quickly it absorbs the toxins that are in the air, and then that's no longer useful to. So, okay, I have put this in my here. It's half filled with water. Now, there is a chemical reaction that happens when you first add charcoal to water. I learned this the hard way too, but I'm going to tell you, do not spray yourself with charcoal water. You will be sorry. So when you first go to take it, open it, put a towel there. Oh, a bad one, maybe because I had the water a little lower. But a lot of times this will have a big spray of charcoal on both sides. Okay? So now, off and add the rest. My water. I will fill this up to the top. And then every single night before bed, as long as I'm not taking medication at bedtime, I will go and take a big swig of this. I'll shake it up. Charcoal straw that I keep on the counter. Tastes so wonderful. And then the charcoal goes in pulls out toxins, poisons, but it will coat your tongue for a while. So, all right, that's how you make the slurry. If somebody has, you cannot take this within 2 hours of medication. This is going to pull the medicine out of your body too. So when you use a poultice, let's say you put a poultice over your liver because you're having liver congestion, fatty liver, different issues, you just want to improve the health of your gut, whatever, will never affect your medication. But when you take it internally, it will pull the medicine out. So if you are on the type of medication that needs a blood level, like an antidepressant, this would not be a good thing for you to do because you want to obtain that blood level of your medication. All right? Is everyone clear on that? How many hours do you have to wait? Perfect. Okay. So now this slurry is going to last me for a week or more. I'm going to drink about this much out of it. So I don't want to mix it up every day. Just don't want to. So I keep it on the kitchen counter. I just shake it. I open it carefully with a paper towel. I stick my straw in there. I drink this much, put the lid on, rinse my straw, and it's just sitting there waiting for me for the next day. Okay? Stuff is great. And I wake up feeling so much clearer in the morning. And I imagine that's what people who don't have those kind of issues where they don't get the toxins out, imagine that's what you feel like all the time. Okay. Let's do the charcoal poultice. Yes.
2 hours before.
2 hours. Yeah, it's just, it has to be separated by 2 hours either direction. So, all right, let's make a poultice out of this. Now, you're going to see in your handout, there are lots. Okay, let's look first at the bottom of page 3, where I talk about diarrhea, dysentery, cholera, vomiting, stomach ache, and acid reflux. You can use charcoal. If someone can swallow capsules, please, you guys, I beg you, do not go on vacation without a bottle of charcoal capsules. Why would you spend thousands of dollars on a vacation and for something that you could have bought for $16 but didn't? Now your vacation's ruined. I just had a friend who posted on Facebook. They bought an expensive cruise. They went up to Alaska and all this stuff. 5 days he spent in the bathroom. He couldn't get out. And then the rest of the time it rained. I mean, he had the most miserable vacation. But I kept thinking, if you just had taken some charcoal powder and some charcoal capsules with you. Capsules go with us everywhere. We go nowhere without charcoal, okay? So if you have bad gas, you could take, say, 4 capsules. I mean, we've all eaten something and just gotten those terrible gas pains. You can take 4 capsules, okay? It will get rid of the gas pain in a matter of probably 30 to 40 minutes max. If you have gotten food poisoning and now all of a sudden it's been 3 hours and you're like, oh my goodness, I ate that mayonnaise-based whatever, and now I'm running to the bathroom, go take 6 or 8 capsules and then repeat that in 3 hours, all right? And that will get rid of the food poisoning almost immediately. Charcoal will just pull the toxins, the virus, the bacteria, all of that junk out of your intestinal tract. And so,
Barb,
to make a big difference.
just real quick, maybe I'll give a little testimony about that. Many of you know me, and I travel all around the world. I've been to many, many, many countries. Whenever I go to a place, I eat the food, I drink the water. I do not take bottled water. I eat all of the local food, no matter where I go. But I always take charcoal capsule after I eat. And I have never been sick. Not a stomach sickness like that in any place I've ever been. So it's thanks to the charcoal. It really does the job.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's probably the most valuable thing that I can say that I've heard. I mean, all this is valuable, but when you travel, it is the cheapest insurance you can have to
We,
go.
we really never go anywhere without charcoal capsules and a bottle of the Thieves Factor essential oil and some empty capsules. Because if someone gets something, I'm not going to have the ingredients to make a flu balm and a grater and all that stuff, but I can put those drops, which I use 2 of them on my toothbrush along with activated charcoal toothpaste every single day. And so that just kills the bacteria in my mouth and my gums, and those just keep my throat feeling good too. And so that's just something you can really utilize well. So one of the things that I do want to answer this question. How long will activated charcoal last? Does it expire? Like this, if it's completely closed and contained or in glass, no, it doesn't expire. No expiration date. If you leave it open, I don't know how long it's going to last. It won't last real long. Okay? So make sure that it's closed. All right. Who would like to learn how to make their own charcoal? All right. So you're going to build a fire in your backyard. You have to have wood and the ability to start a fire. All right? Those are things that you can potentially get, even if you have to break up a piece of paper. I mean, I don't know what a crisis would call on us to do, but get some wood, start a fire, and let that fire cook down to where you've got, those nice orangey coals. They're just kind of glowing. They're perfect for roasting marshmallows. Those are the kind of coals. Okay. When they get to that point, you have to stop the process. Now, you want them to really be glowy for quite a while, probably a half an hour or so. And after that, you can take a hose, which honestly is my favorite method because it's just super fast, and then you can dry it out, put it in something. Or you can take, say, the lid, the dome that goes over like a charcoal thing, and you can just put that over your fire and put a little sand or dirt around the edge to make an airtight seal, and then that will stop the oxygen from being able to turn this into ash, okay? Now you have your own charcoal. And from here, we're going to take this in a few minutes when we make our water bottle, when we learn how to filter our water, we're going to pound this into smaller pieces, okay? But the charcoal itself is very simple to make, and as long as you can build a fire, you can make it, and then you can purify your water with it. But I want to show you how to do the poultice, and then we're going to do the purification. All you're going to need is equal parts. I'm just doing the simple one. There's other fancy recipes, but honestly, this is the one I come back to all the time. Equal parts flour. I am really sensitive to flour. Okay, so I use cassava flour, which comes from the yucca root. We're just going to do a heaping spoon. You can use, I no longer would I use cornstarch, but any kind of a binder, that's all you need, and some water. If you use hot water, you can see it just goes flying everywhere. You have to work slowly with charcoal. Now we're just going to put in a little bit of water. I wanted you to be able to see this as you want it to be the consistency of thick, you want it to be the consistency of wet. It needs to, again, have that moisture barrier. So it runs, but it's not too runny, all right? So now we have our mixture for our poultice. And we're just going to, again, cut out this. Anybody here have an injury? A wound they want? Or? All right, we're going to pull this back. No, just like a boil or something that's infected. Once you pull infection, you can have the pull. Okay, so You're going to take this and just spread it. Now, when you're working with charcoal, you don't want it any, really pulls with the puppy pee pad inside. It really starts to pull the moisture out of our poultice. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it really, really went dry very quickly. So I'm going to put this over the edge, like pull the top on it. But then, okay, is anyone going to want this poultice? I'll send it home with someone. So I'm going to show you what to do. This, Lynn, you can make and store in, you can do several of them at a time, especially if you're working with someone who has a wound. Help. That you're going to be making them and putting them on every single day for, say, 3 or 4 days. You're going to want to make them up ahead of time, and you're going to fold them in half. Then you're going to place them, scissors here. So now, now you can see, you see how this is not really damp through here? Like a little bit, but not damp. You want charcoal. It does not work well unless you have a moist barrier. So add a little bit of water. I'm going to a little bit, a lot more. Now we have really wet poultice. Right, so now we have a moist barrier, right? You're going to take this, put it over the wound, secure that in place with an ace bandage, whatever. Now, if you're going to make these ahead of time, you're going to fold them in half like this. You're going to put them in a Ziploc baggie. If you're going to take this home, if you're okay with me taking this bag that had the ginger in it out, and this, or maybe an onion, this and then. So you're going to secure this with an ace bandage again, 6 to 8 hours, and then take it off. Now, if you're okay with it being cold, when you open this up, you may want to put just a few more sprinkles of water. If it's drying out, it's not going to do its job. But put that on, bandage it in place, and then, but it's got to go into a bag that will, the air and the pollutants from it. If you make these up, you can microwave them for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, just enough to kind of warm them. But you have to make sure there are no hot spots. Be vigilant about making sure you don't burn yourself or somebody else, okay? Or just put it on in the cool condition. So this is amazing. This pulls infection out of anything. I hope you. Somebody over there. Okay.
Is this the poultice that you mentioned, pull an abscess from it?
Yes, an internal abscess. When I went out, my sister just passed. She was diagnosed with stage 4 bone cancer back in 2015. And so I flew out to Washington State to show her how to make juice and how to use poultices and how to make smoothies to get rid of cancer. Okay? She ended up becoming cancer-free and going into remission. But one of the things, they had given her a bunch of injections, like heparin injections in the abdomen, and one of the needles infected her. And so she had this abscess. It was about 4 inches long and about 2 inches wide. You could feel it on her abdomen. It was really hard, but very hot and painful. So I just simply made up charcoal poultices, and I put probably 3 or 4 in a bag because I wasn't staying at her home. I was staying at my mom's. And so every day I'd put one on her. She told me after the first day that she had to get up and change the sheets in the middle of the night because all of a sudden it was like her body released all this fluid into the poultice through the skin. So it was almost like someone had wet the bed, but it wasn't quite that bad. But That's how powerful charcoal is, and it had pulled all the infection out. So we used the poultice 3 days in a row, I think, and she was really fine.
Is there a risk of abscess
Can
that
you
are
speak just a little louder?
abscess that are a little bit deeper, like inside the even closer to the sensitive organ?
Well,
Is there risk for, while you're doing the poultice, is there risk for sepsis or what is that, peritonitis?
when the body opens itself, when it opens the skin to remove infection, it does it on its own and it will close it properly. Like whatever's happening, you don't see it. You're not going to see some hole in the skin. You're just going to see junk on the poultice, and it's going to smell bad. Sometimes you take it off and you don't see anything yellow or whatever, but the poultice will still smell like yeast or just, and so you know it's pulling things out. But the woman who had the uterine cancer, I mean, that was very deep inside of her, and it was tugging and pulling and came through the skin. And so it's very powerful. My mother called me one day. She said that one of our neighbors is an airline pilot, and he was in an ATV accident, and he has broken his leg. I think it was 27 or 28 places. They had put, he was young. I mean, he was like late 30s, early 40s, had 3 or 4 children, and his job depended on him being able to have both of his legs. He would have, his pilot license would have been, and had gangrene had set in. They had his foot in, I mean, his whole leg from above the knee was like in one of those halo type of things, and there were screws and pins everywhere holding this man's ankle and leg together. Well, he had gangrene. The doctors told him, look, you know, we'll put you on this antibiotic again. They'd put him on several rounds of antibiotics, and it was not helping. And they said, well, it's very likely we're going to need to amputate the leg next. Well, he somehow mentioned it to my mom's husband. They were friends, and he said, come over, I think we can do something. Mom called me and said, what do I do? So I explained over the phone how to make this charcoal poultice, and it had to be very carefully done in strips to go around all those pins and all the gangrene. And so she started buying fresh carrots. She made him 16 ounces of fresh carrot juice that he would drink then while she was changing the poultice on his leg. And so he came over every single day for that entire week, and all of the gangrene was gone. When he went back to the doctors the next week and they were anticipating amputating the leg, they're like, what in the world happened? And he said, charcoal, natural remedies. And they said, I think that was a witch doctor that did that to you. And I think I don't know that I've ever been more insulted than being called a witch doctor. No, in the name of Jesus, no. But charcoal's amazing. And we saved that man's leg. We saved his job. We saved his career. And so charcoal is absolutely amazing. So now I'm going to show you how to make your own water bottle filter. Talked about making charcoal. I brought my watermelon knife just because I wanted to break it easily cut through. Okay, so you want to take your charcoal, pretty big bag, smaller. I'm going to put this towel down because I don't know how big of a it's going to come flying out or not. I don't want to spray the front row there, Herman. So we're going to take this charcoal. Sorry for anyone who's listening. Okay, so now we have some teeny tinier pieces. Okay, this is what we want for doing our water bottle filter. I didn't even knock my water over. That's okay. To purify water, your own backyard. Okay, all you need, water bottle, well, a couple of them. We're going to be taking the end off, but before we do that, I want to, knife is sharp enough. On each one of these little points here, we're going to okay, so you want to poke some holes through each one of these, but without cutting. We have lots of poultices here, and we even have cayenne pepper to stop, right? Okay, if you make these holes too small, the water will trickle through too small. So we are getting some quite good sized holes here. All right. Are you no longer nervous? He's like, he's not sure yet. Okay, so now we're going to cut about 2.5 inches off the bottom of our bottle, right? This is going to fit inside here snugly, okay? Now, what we want to do is you want to take a piece of cloth, and you can just use t-shirt, you can use, I'm going to cut up one of these washcloths. You're going to put this down into the neck. Now, that's going to filter out any remaining big pieces. Now we want about 1.5 cups of our charcoal. You know, South Carolina is famous for having hurricanes, and sometimes you can't always get fresh water. All right, so we've got our smaller pieces of our charcoal. Now we're going to take this, and probably you could do this a little fancier with your scissors. Let me just sort of like cutting your own hair. Okay, so we're going to put this down in here. Tight fit. All right, so now we're just going to take our cloth, the other half. You're just going to fold it. Now this, so if you're using mud puddle water, and it's got leaves, sticks, whatever, sand in it, this is going to filter out the big piece. The water is going to drip down through the charcoal and down through this cloth. Open this up, and then you're going to put this inside of something that will hold it, a bowl, a jar, whatever, okay? And so as you pour your contaminated water in here, it's going to drip through, and then you can fill a water bottle with your water. Now, with this, they recommend that you still either boil the water, or if you don't have access to flame, take your water bottle that you've put your pure water in, let it sit in full sunlight for 6 hours. That will also purify the water. And at that point, in an emergency situation, I wouldn't be worried about what you might be absorbing in the bottle. I would just purify the water. Another way to purify your water is if you take, and I've watched this happen in Pakistan, where I've gone over and taught classes. They have water that looks like mud puddle water to drink. The liver disease, the hep C, the amount of contaminants is just incredible. So they will take big chunks of charcoal, like this size, okay? And they will put 3 or 4 or 5 of them in the bottom of a big pot like this, okay? They just put big pieces on the bottom. They will fill it up with the water that is the mud puddle water, whatever they have. They will boil that for 1 hour. After that hour, they just pour it through like t-shirt cloth, okay, fabric, and it comes out crystal clear. It is absolutely amazing, the transition. And all of this work that we've been doing and trying to educate people about charcoal and the Sabbath truth, I'm a Sabbath-keeping Christian, has been gone throughout the entire country. And so they are very grateful. We have people knocking on our door saying, hey, we hear you Christians have a trick for cleaning your water. What is it? And so then we can share with them their health remedies. So this is an amazing way that can change your life. You can also, if you have the powder, you can take the powder and just stir a teaspoon into a bottle, or if I, take your water here, stir a teaspoon. Weren't sure what contaminants, maybe there's been some kind of issue going on. Stir it in, let it sit overnight if you can't boil it. If you can, wait that long. And then your water is going to be gray, but all of the charcoal powder will sink to the bottom. Probably just stir it up that way. But the water just tastes absolutely pure. And at that point, you're able to. So are there any questions?
Barb, I was going to say, can you talk about, is there taste to the water that has charcoal in it?
There's no taste to me. Sometimes if you get a charcoal that is not super fine, it might have a little grit to it. But as far, I use the cup with the straw, so most of it's going into the back of my mouth. But if you have a problem with a sore throat or whatever, you can just swoosh that in your mouth. One of the things I did during COVID, besides that capsule, I would have the men take the thieves oil capsule first, and then I would have them take 2 activated charcoal capsules, chew it in their mouth, swoosh and hold that for 1 minute, and then have them swallow. No water for at least 15 minutes. That pulled all the bacteria and the virus out of the mouth and the throat without interfering with any medication in the body, because we were just chewing and swallowing. So, yes, ma'am. Yes, it just means cooked at a higher temperature. But the charcoal you make in your backyard is very useful, and it still works very well. And that's all they have to use in Pakistan, and they just heal all kinds of injuries, illness, infection, and purify their water.
I was just going to say, in the military, they're in the Army. We have a friend, Chris Curry, who was in 11 Bravo in the Army, and they were taught how to make charcoal, and they make it in the field, because if you're in a fight or whatever, you don't want to be sick, right? And so they were taught how to make charcoal that would take care of their problems. They're making normal charcoal, just like I made in the backyard, just like. So activated charcoal is great. You can't carry everything with you all the time that you. And this, no matter where you're at, there's wood there. Another question here, Barb.
Charcoal is really amazing. Now you can see our onion syrup. It's very liquid now. You're welcome to come up and look at this. I would just strain off the onions and then save the syrup in the fridge and use that as needed. So that is that. So today I brought a limited supply of charcoal capsules. I have some smaller bags of activated charcoal. The prices are on the last page in your handout. And I have some bigger bags. I have brought eggs. Bill and I have 50 chickens, and we have uber organic eggs. They free range. They eat a corn-free feed that absolutely, the eggs are amazing. And there's even people here who've had the eggs who testify to their. Yes, ma'am.
So my vision is still clouded.
Cloudy vision. So you can start with the castor oil by putting a drop on your finger and just rubbing it on the top of your eyelid and under your eyelid, and see if that will help. The other thing that I learned many, many years ago from Dr. M is that you can take the tiniest little fingernail worth of raw, unfiltered honey at bedtime and put it in your eye. That can go in your eye. You can put the castor oil on the eyelid, and that will gradually break up any kind of things that are impairing the vision. If you have macular degeneration, for instance, which is a different issue, more internal, you can daily, depending on the condition, how intense it is, a cup of blueberries and a half of a lemon, including the peel, blend it up with just enough water to make it like applesauce, and you can eat that or drink that 3 times a day to reverse macular.
I would like.
You would not want to, you would not want to put any kind of honey that's sugared. Just please, go easy and know that's very sticky. You're going to want to keep a cloth by the bed to wipe your fingers. And it's going to make your vision a little more blurry for a while. But yes, be careful with your. And does everybody have that blue card? Did you get that with all my? So on the front it has, yes, different things at my office. I'm downtown on Divine Street. I do nutrition consults, live blood cell testing, cryotherapy, full body cryo tank. I have a salt room, which is also great for breathing problems if you want something to add to the onion. It's a great thing, and I would just love to have you at the office. So are there any more questions?
I'd like to know what's good for swelling.
For sweating? Swelling.
Swelling.
Swelling. You're like your ankles are swelling? Are your ankles swelling? Okay, so there are 2 oceans of water inside the body, or fluid inside the body. You have what's inside the cell and you have what's outside the cell. When your water and your salt ratio are out of balance, your ankles will swell. So, number 1, I'm not a believer in a salt-free diet. I know that might be shocking, but I don't believe that white table salt is healthy for you. What is healthy for you is like the salt with all of the minerals, like pink Himalayan salt, Celtic salt, or if you have the money and you want to splurge in a bag of Baja Gold salt, that stuff's amazing. There's like 86 in there. But it is, when you drink the right amount of water and maybe take a pinch of salt on your tongue, that will open those sodium channels to get water inside the cell, and that can help to relieve that. But make sure you start your day with 2 glasses, a bottle before lunch, a bottle before dinner, and you may see that resolve. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Read so much about parents. Oh,
Yeah, garlic definitely, the flu balm will absolutely be killing some parasites. I do have a specific parasite cleanse. It is something I would rather go over with you individually, but there are lots of natural things that kill parasites. And I do believe that we are overburdened. And I see tons of the teeny tiny microscopic parasites in the live blood cell. So we don't see the parasite itself, but we see cell either looks like it has a nipple on it or it looks like a spaceship. And so we can see what it does inside the cell. So,
Barb, do you want to check back on?
okay, let's hear about how the ginger poultice is done.
So it feels like, I know
It's really hot. And so it will get very hot. If you can just deal with the heat, it will cool down, and now in about 15, 20 minutes, if you finally reach the stage where it's pulling the inflammation out of that joint. So if you can bear through the heat cycles, they'll get a little less and a little less, and just leave that on. I would love for you to text me. My number is all over the handouts and that blue card. Text me tomorrow how your joint did, okay?
I will.
We hope you have a wonderful time. Thank you all for coming to the class. If there are no more questions, we will.
Yeah, I have a granddaughter that's a pet. Now she got. Talk about.
What is it they're removing?
Pardon me?
What is it they're removing? What are they
So
searching?
see, she have moles and stuff.
Oh, there's cysts. So
Yes.
charcoal will pull fluid out of cysts as well, but she may benefit also from doing fresh carrot juice in the morning, like freshly prepared, not bought off the store, and a flu balm a couple times a day. These are natural things in there to kill bacteria, and putting charcoal over those sites. You can try that and see, and if it doesn't work, we can always.
And another question.
Right. Well,
So,
I would say the majority of the people that come into my office are there because they've either been told there isn't a cure for something.
Yeah.
For instance, I just had blood work done, and back in 2009, I saw one of my reports, and I saw these numbers, these antibody numbers that were really high. And I'm like, what? I asked the doctor, what is this? He said, these are thyroid antibodies, and they show Hashimoto's disease. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me I had Hashimoto's? This is from last year. He goes, oh, because there's nothing we can do about it. Well, I had my blood work done Friday, and I happened to get those antibody tests back. One was at 0, the other one was only 11, which means it's barely detectable. So he may not have the answer, but a lot of times there are autoimmune diseases and issues. When you come in and we work with the whole body and we get you eating the right things and take the wrong things out, it will make a big difference. And by the way, you just reminded me of something. When you do the ginger poultice, anybody who's doing the ginger poultice on whether it's gout or your knuckles are sore, your wrists sore, whatever, do not eat popcorn. Do not eat corn chips. Do not eat cornstarch. Do not eat high fructose cornstarch. Maltodextrin, dextrose, polydextrose, anything with dex in it means corn sugar. Corn causes inflammation in the joint. So if we put that poultice and you leave here and you go have a bowl of tortilla chips with salsa, this will not improve greatly, only improve a little. Okay, does everyone got it? Corn causes joint pain and inflammation. Get the corn out for that, get the wheat out for Hashimoto's, and you might see that you guys have been a fantastic class. If you would like the charcoal powder, eggs, happy to help you with that, okay? Thank you so much.